what we're going to spend some time on this afternoon is what are some of those communication practices that keep an open, creative, constructive context in which people can grow, in which people can learn from their mistakes, in which people can grow responsible and independent of you, so that ultimately the child emerges in the world on their own, capable of surviving the loss of you, but where you can be at all times appropriately responsible. You know, a newborn doesn't survive without a lot of attention from the parents. But if you're still paying the same level of attention when they're 25, something's not quite right. So I wanted to just offer that model into the circle, and you're going to have a chance in a minute to do an interview with each other and thinking about that in your own context. I want to just mention one other thing, which I know I said at the Hub picnic last year. I've spent 5 years also in the world creating and leading a global project on saving the lives of mothers dying in childbirth, which is a Millennium Development Goal, but the one in which there's been the least progress in the world. And it's very near and dear to my heart, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So a lot of my volunteer work in the world has been focused on creative ways to shift that. One of the things that I learned from my older sister, who worked for WHO until recently, is that the best predictor of whether a mother survives childbirth, and again, for those of you who are men, put yourself in this story inside of the creative role, you know, the person giving birth to the new thing, that the best predictor of whether a mother survives the birth of a child is whether there's a skilled birth attendant, a midwife. So, you know, the most effective strategy in the world for increasing maternal survival is training midwives. So I think one of the other things that's a very powerful part of this analogy for me is really being attentive first to who that midwife is. You know, who is your partner in that way? Because a midwife, it's such a useful profession. A midwife is never, I have never heard ever of an instance in which the midwife gets confused about whether she's the midwife or the mother. You know, she knows who the mother is. You know, you're the mother, not me. But my job in this as a midwife is to be present in a way which helps assure the survival of both the mother and the child. And that says also, that has that kind of confidence that comes from experience that says birth is always bloody, and it is always messy, and it is always painful. In human terms, we don't have a choice about that. You can be cut open or have a natural birth, but both of them are bloody and messy and painful. And it's in the service of life. So in that case, the midwife is able to distinguish the difference between that sort of, you know, when the mother is bleeding to death, or when this is the way life happens. They can discern which is which. So also to think, and for those of you who are at the point of starting something, to take very seriously the importance of having someone at your side who's capable of helping bring this latent idea into consciousness, into visibility, and who's also at the point that you're panicked, sort of be able to say, breathe, 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 everything is fine, you're doing great. Because that is such a powerful and needed voice and presence in the process. And what happens when you try to do it alone, if you're a woman, is you're very likely to die, because there's so many completely unpredictable complications. What you again find in maternal health is reliably you can predict that 15% of the women giving birth will get in serious trouble in delivery, but there is almost no way to predict which 15% before it happens. It's the same way. Things change, things shift, inside, outside. So again, just to think, who are the people I most need with me that are going to ensure that I survive, that this thing survives, that are present, that are a source of courage and experience in the process. So that's all of my this morning reflections on motherhood and sustainable business. And